Alright, that last one worked out so nicely, I think I'll do it again. Oh. And thanks for all your support. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'll try to keep the expletives down in this one so that you can share it at work or with your friends and so forth. But, I mean, you know, the politically correct thing is how we got in this mess in the first place. I can't emphasize that enough. Alright, just call a spade a spade. What cost 20 bucks in 1982 would cost $44.58 in 2010, and more than that now. Now, in 1982, I used to be able to get $20 an hour for tutoring. Now, I charge $40, and people are like, $40? Which it is. It's a lot of money, because you know what? Your wages haven't kept up with inflation, have they? They have not. Minimum wage hasn't kept up. Social Security hasn't kept up. The silent tax. Because people could pretty much easily afford $20 in 1982. But now, you know, they don't have that much more money. You know, they're not making that much more. The wealthy don't care. When you got millions of dollars, this doesn't bother you at all. Right? They get to use the money first in the first place. But look at this. What costs you $20 now, right, would only cost you $8.58 in 2010. Or excuse me, in 1982. Right? So you only needed $8 or $8.50 to get $20 worth of goods and services. And these numbers are off anyway. These calculations are a little conservative. But anyway, in the last 2 years, it's really gone out of whack. Right? And can I charge $60 an hour? No, nobody can afford $60 an hour. Could I charge $50 an hour? People can barely afford $50 an hour. Why is that? In order for me to get the same stuff, it's what it takes. But this is that inflation. This is what people need to understand, that silent tax. And this is why Ron Paul has brought the Fed to center stage, and this is why they hate him. The bankers own the media, and as I said, it should be abundantly clear now that the media does what the bankers tell them to do. Simple as that. Now let's look at this. And I screenshotted this just in case because they always pull it off. Gingrich cancels campaign event due to poor attendance. And this should say FAUX. I can't believe they still, right? FAUX News, N-O-O-Z. But this came from the AP, and AP stands for all pablum, right? It's all pablum. Let's read this thing because it's nice and short. The poor, right? Newt Gingrich has canceled an appearance in South Carolina because of poor attendance. The Republican presidential candidate was scheduled to speak at the Southern Republican leadership on Friday. Or speak to the Southern Republican leadership on Friday, but a campaign spokesman told reporters that he would not be appearing, due to poor attendance. Turns out, if you read a little further, that it was Gingrich and Rick Santorum there, and they still couldn't pull a crowd. Right? And what is it? It was a few dozen people in the audience at the College of Charleston arena. What event was this? What event? They don't name the event. What event was it? Gingrich spokesman said that he'd be skipping the event, right? Not even going to bother talking to him because so few people showed up, so that he could spend more time touring a children's hospital. How sweet. Here's Ron Paul at that very same event, at that exact event, the College of Charleston Bully Pulpit series, which they didn't name in that thing, right? It was the Bully Pulpit series, that event in the arena. Oh, look at the crowd for Ron Paul. Just look at the crowd. Now what they're going to try and tell you is that these guys don't go vote. These guys aren't going to be in the election. These guys wouldn't go to the caucus. These guys show up to hear him speak, but they don't go vote. Look at that crowd. That looks like more than a few dozen people. Look at that off in the distance. And if you look carefully, if you watch this whole video, which I'll have linked below, you can see that it is not just young people there. There's all kinds of people there, students and faculty and so forth. And there's some great comments on this video. But the idea is, they're lying to you. Who's the number one guy? The number one guy is Ron Paul. Who is got the, 60, 70, 80% of the vote down there when they do polls? Who won the debate? Ron Paul, 80%. But they still want Mitt Romney. They still want Gingrich. They're still going to vote for Rick Santorum, even though he won the debate, made the most sense, and draws the largest crowds. They're going to split his vote between the other guys. Because if they let you see what was going on, right? The establishment media is just, FOS. And look at this. Here is the C-SPAN, right? Is this MSNBC? Is this Contains No News? Is this CBS? Is this Fox News? Some people want to say faux, but I always say Fox because it sounds the same. Anyhow, do you get the point? All right, now, and again, my sincere apologies to this woman right here, because I made it sound like she was screwing some banker from Goldman Sachs when actually it's a banker from Citibank. And that's right in here. And it's quite clear that the bankers own the media. Get over it, and they're not going to tell you the full story, because, you know, over here they could have just put down here Ron Paul showed up and you know, drew a large crowd, right? But all Pablum isn't going to put that in there, are they? Of course they're not. Okay, I mean, that's your own eyes. Now, Iowa vote fraud, oh, it's heating up. More and more people are starting to see, right? They focus on that one precinct, and as it turns out, there are quite a few precincts and quite a few people. Actually, it turns out now that not just those 8 or 9, that there's many, many where there are discrepancies. I love it. It's a discrepancy. We just had some discrepancies. Let's see here. And, you know, again, here we have a great article. I'll link it below. And then I'll get back to this woman right here. There's a beautiful black woman, intelligent. Let's talk about Jim Crow for a second, right? Because you people in the black community need to be able to have some arrows in your quiver. So here are the political positions of Ron Paul. It's just a Wikipedia page, so be careful because it's Wikipedia. But still, I looked it over and it's pretty straight up for what he has to say. Check out what he has to say about jury nullification, right? Jury nullification, he is absolutely in favor. Paul believes that juries deserve the status of tribunals and that jurors have the right to judge the law as well as the facts of the case. Absolutely correct. The Founding Fathers made the jury the last bastion of liberty, right? Mom has, you know, facing 10 years in prison because she sold a $31 bag of pot, wasn't violent, wasn't, you know, okay. So, guilty as sin. She sold the bag of pot, but the jury can come in there and find her not guilty because the law is ridiculous. Right? Judges hate this. Prosecutors hate this. The people taking, taking the law into their own hands. This is how you. This is not, right? This is not vigilantism. This is the mechanism that the Founding Fathers put in place so that if these people write insane and stupid laws, we could nullify them. All right. Now, let's talk about, let's go down here, and, you know, this is great. Marijuana, let's talk about marijuana. Okay, so it's actually, I don't even need to click it. It's the, he wants to decriminalize, and this doesn't even go as far as to say that he would like to pardon the nonviolent criminals. Understand that there are 5 million people in jail in the home of the free, land of the brave. 5 million. I believe the statistic is fully 13%, a little over 13% of adult black males cannot vote in the United States because they have felony convictions. And many of those felony convictions, unlike what the media would like you to know, was for basically, you know, victimless client, marijuana, right, drugs, etc., non-violent criminals. But they got felonies, they can't vote. Okay, and there's a great, you know, on Young Turks where the ACLU was, and they're talking about how, you know, just by coincidence, they made felonies out of, you know, crimes that Negroes were more likely to break, right? Laws that they were more likely to break. They made them into felonies, stripped them of their rights to vote. Okay, so now we have the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which they're trying to use against Ron Paul. It's like, you're a racist, and you wouldn't... Okay, now, for all effective purposes, who's going to do more for the black community? These people that are like, you know, this law from 1964 that pretty much is, you know, it's... In the South, I understand. Believe me, I understand. What was going on and how, but see, what Ron Paul wants to say is, not only did it violate the Constitution and reduce liberty, it also failed to achieve its stated goals of promoting racial harmony and a colorblind society. Might have made things a little bit worse on that level. But what I'm saying, and what he's also, you know, saying, is that, look, you don't violate the rights of one group to give rights to another group. Now, we could have made it better. We could have made a Civil Rights Voting Act that didn't violate the Constitution. Right? With a little more work and a little more thinking. Now, what happens is they try to use this to say that Ron Paul's a racist and he wouldn't even rent. No, who, for all effective purposes, who's going to let more people out of, back into the voting rolls that are black? These guys for the Civil Rights Act of 1964, or the guy that would pardon the guys that have felonies that are supposed to be off the books forever, right? So you're in the black community, and they're bringing up the Civil Rights Act and so forth. Let's talk about practical application, right? As simple as that. Who's more for liberty in the Constitution? Ron Paul. Who's more for individual liberty? Ron Paul. And the way he's for that, I mean, very, very clearly cut and dried, would make a bigger difference, right? So that this isn't just some kind of, intellectual exercise. In practical application, freeing these, adult males, non-violent, let's make that clear, non-violent adult black males, and, pardoning them and putting them back on the road to getting, their rights to vote back. Right, because if they get a pardon, then they can go, apply to get their right to vote back. Who's going to do more for them? Obama, Mitt Romney, or Ron Paul? Right, and this is again a red herring. I mean, just non-issue. Right, because again, every one of these things that they try to make him sound crazy and try to make him sound like, he's a nutbag and this and that and racist and so forth, it's based in the Constitution. Now, if you guys got a problem with the guy that uses the Constitution for his guidepost, I feel sorry for you. Okay, so inflation. Who's bringing up the silent tax? It's Ron Paul. Who is talking about the Federal Reserve and how we get that silent tax of inflation through their money printing? And not only that, it wouldn't be so bad if they were just printing money, but then they loan it to us at interest. Right? They loan our own money to us. Ron Paul is the only guy that talks about this. And here are the crowds showing up for Ron Paul. Right? And I wish there was a picture of the guy showing up for Newt Gingrich, but it should be pretty obvious if he cancels due to poor attendance that, it didn't look anything like that. All right. This is killing you. All of us. Right? The main thing is the main thing. Look at this. This is just since 1982. Right? Young people, who are in their 20s, they see this, but it doesn't ring home. I have a car that used to cost me $20 to fill the tank. Now it costs me $50 to fill the tank. That's because it's an old car, right? but that same car, I remember $20 would top that thing off. I'd usually get change. That's just gas prices, which they don't include in inflation because, gas, that's ridiculous. Food, that's ridiculous. But if you actually do the calculations, right, this is what they've done to our currency and what they're doing to you. Right? Your Social Security hasn't kept up. Minimum wage hasn't kept up. Ron Paul is absolutely popular with people because liberty and freedom are popular. And there they are in South Carolina, droves of them. And they're going to try and say that, all these people, actually, they show up for Ron Paul and not for Gingrich. But they're still going to go vote for Gingrich and Santorum and Mitt. Nonsense. Wake up, people. Just wake up. Vote fraud alive and well in the United States. Right? There's no getting around it. They're trying to fix it for you. Look at this banker person. Banker. What would be another word that starts with B? I don't know. Anyhow, she's so cute. But don't be fooled by these beautiful people on the TV that are doing everything they can to suppress Ron Paul. Don't be fooled. Right? Get out there, because they're going to try and steal the vote in South Carolina and Florida and Nevada and wherever it is. But get out there and expose this fraud, because these guys aren't going to do it for us. Simple as that. They're owned by the bankers. All right. Ron Paul, 2012, man.